Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I know we take a lot of your time and a lot of time sitting, so thank you. We know what you give to this. On behalf of the National Hockey League's Board of Governors, I'm pleased to report that today we unanimously voted to ratify a new collective bargaining agreement with the National Hockey League Players Association, which means to our fans and all around the globe, hockey is back. This great game has been gone for far too long, and for that we are truly sorry. The board today also expressed its appreciation for the professionalism and commitment to our clubs and the sport that Commissioner Bettman and Deputy Commissioner Daly displayed throughout this difficult period. Jerry, Bill, and their staff worked tirelessly from long before the lockout began in an effort to reach a constructive conclusion. Gary and Bill have the complete and unconditional support of the board, as well as our gratitude. As our league moves towards what we know will be a period of growth for the sport and a time of great excitement and entertainment for our fans, I would add the appreciation of the board for the dedication the players showed during the negotiating process and for their role in securing an agreement that will move National Hockey League forward in the years ahead. There's no doubt we all love this game. Together, our collective future is extremely bright. Our only interest now is to look ahead and focus on what this great game can provide to the best sports fans in the world. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Jerry. As Jerry reported to you, the Board of Governors reviewed the terms of the proposed new collective bargaining agreement and unanimously ratified it. I am sure that you are going to have lots of questions about the new collective bargaining agreement and the process that took place in reaching it. Out of respect for the players' ratification process, which is ongoing, I'm probably not going to be able to answer any of them, but we can try. However, I do have a personal statement to make. To the players who were very clear they wanted to be on the ice and not negotiating labor contracts, to our partners who support the league financially and personally, and most importantly to our fans who love and have missed NHL hockey, I'm sorry. I know that an explanation or an apology will not erase the hard feelings that have built up over the past few months, but I owe you an apology nevertheless. As Commissioner of the National Hockey League, it sometimes falls upon me to make tough decisions that disappoint and occasionally anger players and fans. This was a long and extremely difficult negotiation, one that took a lot longer than anybody wanted. I know it caused frustration, disappointment, and even suffering to a lot of people who have supported the National Hockey League in many different ways. In the end, neither side got everything it wanted, and everyone lost in the short term. But the NHL gained a long-term agreement that's good for players and good for teams, and should guarantee the future success of NHL hockey for many years to come. It will help the game to grow, ensuring greater economic stability for all of our teams. Second, it's a 10-year agreement, one that will stand the test of time, with a system where all teams can be competitive and have a chance to make the playoffs and even win the Stanley Cup. And third, it guarantees that our attention from now on will stay where it belongs, on the ice. I thank the National Hockey League Players Association, Don Fehr, and particularly the players on the negotiating committee for their efforts in helping to secure the stability and success of NHL hockey for seasons to come. They fought hard for what they believed in and represented their fellow players extraordinarily well. Once the players ratified the agreement, all the things that you love most about NHL hockey, the speed, the intensity, the skill, the teamwork, and the incredible passion will greet you once again. As I said, we know that no words of apology or explanation will soften the disappointment. I read the letters, I followed the tweets, I read the blogs. We have a lot of work to do. The National Hockey League has a responsibility to earn back your trust and support, whether you watch one game or every game. And that effort begins today. The players are ready to play their hearts out for you. The teams are preparing to welcome you back with open arms. The wait is just about over. Like all of you, we can't wait to drop the puck. Thank you.
Gary, Chris Johnson with the Canadian Press. Just wondering, is there any aspect of this deal, or perhaps, the process that led to signing it, that makes you believe it won't happen again, meaning another lockout the next time you have to negotiate one?
Well, first of all, without getting too specific, the fact is it's a 10-year deal, and the union, I believe, under the framework and leadership that Don has provided, will now have greater stability. We've had, 5 different executive directors in the last 8 years. We believe that with this agreement and the length of this agreement and what it provides and the way the union has reconstituted itself and the players have come together, I think that bodes well for the future relationship.
Gary, you guys addressed a lot of issues in the CBA, but 2 you did not, where realignment and Olympic participation. Do you have a time schedule for when you'll get that done?
We'll get to that. Both issues are important to both the players and to the league and the clubs, and we know we need to get to that. And I believe, as we've said all along, neither are bargaining chips. They're really working together as partners, problem solving to get to the right place.
As you said, Gary, off the top, the apology probably isn't enough for fans who have suffered through this thing. What tangible steps will the league take to make good with its fans?
That's in the process of being worked on, and it will be announced at the appropriate time. Obviously, this is still subject to ratification from the players, but there will be outreaches, campaigns, and efforts that will be made clear as we get closer to dropping the puck.
Gary, there's been some speculation about your own future. Can you address what your plans are in terms of the future?
It's nothing more than speculation, and it's nothing more than unfounded speculation. I'm looking forward to continuing to grow this game both on and off the ice as we've had over the last 20 years. I think the opportunities are great, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Gary, certain sponsors came out during the lockout and said that they would ask for refunds. What are your plans to satisfy their needs post-lockout?
Well, with a number of partners, there are contractual provisions in the event of what they call a force majeure. But we have been in constant communication with our partners. They have been very supportive throughout this process, and we will be working with them to make sure everybody's comfortable going forward.
Gary, Mark Rosenman from Wlie, Sportstalkny New York. You mentioned that you read the blogs and the tweets. What was the prevailing thing that came through to you from the fan base?
I think the prevailing thing is that our fans are incredibly passionate about our game, and we're frustrated and disappointed about the fact that we weren't playing, and frankly, they didn't care who was at fault. They wanted hockey back, and I completely understand that. And as commissioner of the league, no matter what my view of the world is in terms of how and why and wherever, it's my responsibility to them to try and make it right.
There have been some pointed comments coming from Russia and the KHL. How concerned are you that some prominent players don't return?
The NHL represents the highest level of hockey in the world. We expect that the best players in the world will want to play here.
With the Islanders moving to Brooklyn in 2015, is there any more, are the teams locked into their locations now with the new CBA, especially with a lot of the smaller market teams discussing being a big part of the CBA was cutting down to a 50-50 split? Are there any teams that are, it's stuck for now,
correct?
Franchise relocation isn't covered by the collective bargaining agreement. That's something that the league does. As everybody knows, we don't like franchise relocation, and we try to avoid it. But in the final analysis, if we find ourselves in a situation, and we hope not to, and we're not anticipating being in a situation where franchise has to be relocated, that's something that the Board of Governors ultimately decides.
What can you and the union do together over the next 8 to 10 years to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
We build a relationship. As I said before, we think for the first time in almost 8 years, a stable union with strong leadership, and that gives us an opportunity to work together as partners and build the relationship and build trust, which can only happen over time.
Gary Steves of Paper News that if the PA approves everything by Saturday, do you anticipate releasing all or part of the schedule on Sunday?
Well, actually, as soon as the ratification process is complete and we sign the CBA, we will release the schedule instantaneously, assuming it's done, and it should be. It's going through a lot of drafts and changes. The timing and how quickly this has come upon us, we've had some building issues and date issues we've had to address, but our expectation is that we want to get the schedule out as fast as humanly possible, but we're certainly not going to do it until the ratification process is complete, because that would be presumptuous. You sound like the people in the room I just came from, all of whom want the schedule.
Gary, at the back here again. The fact that it was a unanimous vote, as you've said, what does that tell you about the feeling in that room? I mean, there have been, different reports, maybe some owners weren't totally satisfied with the deal, but what's your sense of the feeling in that?
What I said to the owners, although in many more words than I'm about to use, is this is a good deal, this is a fair deal, and in collective bargaining, not everybody gets everything they want. And I even said within the room, there's probably at least 1 or 2 issues that everybody doesn't agree on and doesn't like. The problem is they're not the same issues. But on balance, I believe that ownership was quite comfortable, extraordinarily so, as Jerry Jacobs indicated, with the process we went through and the result that we reached. Collective bargaining is not perfect, and not everybody gets what they want on either side. And so, the Players Association has to balance the needs and interests of 700 plus constituents. I have to balance it for 30. And so it's not science, it's more art form.
Commissioner, just to follow up to Craig's question, if you can't settle this issue that's flared up with the KHL, does it threaten Olympic participation?
I don't want to get into what if. We'll see what happens, and then we'll deal with it in an appropriate fashion. I'm not issuing any threats. I'm not going to make any intemperate statements. I'm hoping that players who are supposed to come back and honor their contracts do it. I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to.
Paul Hunter from the CBC. What's your explanation for why this took so long? Why it took 113 days and a federal mediator to bring the 2 sides to a deal?
The fact is, as I indicated in my opening remarks, I'm not going to get into a debate or a discussion or a historical recount from our perspective as to what may or may not have happened and why. The fact of the matter is, it did because we didn't have an agreement. And when we made an agreement, we came together very quickly. And it wouldn't serve any useful purpose to get into that now, because quite frankly, putting aside the fact that the players are going through the ratification process, my own view is, I think it's time to turn a page and look forward as quickly as possible. Going back and revisiting the last 100 or so days isn't going to serve any constructive purpose.
Having apologized to the fans, you don't think they're owed that explanation?
At the appropriate time, if enough are interested in it, we can do that, but this isn't the appropriate time. Anybody else? Go ahead. You need a microphone.
There's reports that Seattle may be closing in on an NBA team, which would mean a new arena in Seattle. What would that mean for the possibility of an NHL franchise?
It's not something we're focused on or considering right now. Yes?
Just stand by.
If camps open on Sunday as is anticipated, and a player plays in the KHL All-Star game, is he in violation of his NHL contract?
I'm not going to get into the specifics of that right now. We'll deal with it if it happens. Last question.
Commissioner, Bill Daley said in a radio interview a couple of weeks ago that there are things that if he could go back, he might change about this whole Is there anything that you would change?
As I said, I'm not going to review the process now. This isn't the right time to do it. Out of respect for the players' process of ratification. And again, I think this is a day we look forward. There'll be plenty of, listen, there's no doubt that everybody will have and has a view and strong feelings about what transpired, as I do. But I'm not sure now it's constructive for anybody to go through that. Thank you.